Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday to everyone. Come on and like and share. This morning we're going to be talking about watch your mouth. Watch your mouth. Good morning. Hope that everyone is doing well this Monday morning. Looking forward to a new week. Shake off last week, get rid of it, and look forward to a new week where you start all over. Whatever happened Friday is last week's business. This is a brand new week. I got a question for you. Have you ever said, man, I wish I had never said that? Or why did I say that? Good morning, Jonah. Or have you ever said anything to somebody you wish you could take back? I remember one time I was talking to a woman, me and Joyce, who was a good friend of ours, and I just came right in and asked her, how far along are you? And then she responded to me, she said, I'm not pregnant. I was like, ooh, that ain't good. And so talk about a cringe moment. But we've all heard the words, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Let me tell y'all something. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me is not the truth. It is not true. Don't say it. Don't listen to anybody when they say it. Words can hurt. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Words can definitely hurt. The Bible says that the power of life and death is in the tongue. What that means is words can either be life-bringing or death-dealing. Some of us still right now today have thoughts on our minds, have broken relationships, or dealing with stuff from words that people have said to us. The tongue is probably the most powerful organ on the body. Proverbs 10:19 says, in the multitude of words, sin is not lacking, but he who restrains his lips is wise. In other words, what it's saying is sometimes we talk too much. We talk too much sometimes. When do we talk too much, Pastor? We're talking too much if instead of talking, we should be listening. And a lot of times instead of listening, the problem comes in where when you do more talking than you do listening, most of the time you end up saying something that you shouldn't have said. You ever misunderstood a situation and then come to find out it wasn't what you thought it was? And then you regretted what you said about the situation. The reason why is because we don't do enough listening. And the reason why we talk too much is because we assume that people want to hear what we have to say. That's pride. Pride says you need to hear me. Pride says I know better than you do. Pride says I got to get the last word in. Pride says I got to control what other people think about me. Pride says I got to win every argument. And we don't listen. When we don't listen, we tell other people that you ought to be more interested in what I have to say than I should be interested in what you have to say. And we miss opportunities. We turn people off. People become distant, all because we do not listen. And I want to encourage you today to listen more this week. You'll be more productive on your job. Your home will be a much more peaceful home if you learn to listen. And then when you use words, watch how you use your words. Watch what you say. Listen. You got to hear me on this. Just because it comes to mind doesn't mean that it needs to be said. Just because it comes to mind does not mean that it needs to be said. Everything that comes to your mind, that don't mean you got to say it. Some of us are quick to run our mouths about things, and we're quick to say whatever we want without any regard for other people's feelings. And that's not the way that it should be. And then watch this, not just as it relates to other people, but even as it relates to yourself. How do you use your words? I got a question for you. How did you get up feeling this morning? How are you feeling? The first day of the week, it's time to go into the week. How are you feeling this morning? Did you know that how you feel this morning about facing this week has a lot to do with your words that you say to your stuff? To yourself, I mean, not to your stuff, but the words that you say to yourself. For some of us, we get up in the morning and we speak, instead of life-giving words to ourselves, we speak death-giving words to ourselves. We say, oh, I'm going to hate this week. Oh, this is going to be a long, terrible week. Oh, I can't stand going to this job. Oh, man, what am I going to have to deal with when I get to work? Oh, man, this and oh, man, that. Listen. You need to practice speaking life-giving words to yourself. In other words, you ought to get up in the morning and you ought to say to yourself, whether you feel like it or not, you ought to say to yourself, I'm going to enjoy this week. You ought to say to yourself, God has made me a royal priesthood. You ought to say to yourself that this week is mine. I'm going to conquer this week. I'm going to accomplish some things that I hadn't ever accomplished. You ought to speak life to yourself. Now watch this. That doesn't mean that everything is going to go peachy just because you speak life to yourself. No, you'll still have issues. You'll still have troubles. You'll still have trials. But get this. A lot of times it's not what we go through, it's how we look at what we go through. It's not what we experience, it's how we look at what we experience. And you got to retrain your thoughts. You got to start saying to yourself different things about the experiences and the trials and the tribulations that you go through. You got to start saying to yourself, you know what? I'm more than a conqueror. You know what? I got this. You know what? My God is able to do anything. Wake up in the morning and speak life-giving words to yourself. Tell yourself that you're going to have an awesome week. Tell yourself that this week is going to be great. Every morning when you wake up, you ought to say, good morning, Lord. So glad you woke me up this morning. And then say, I'm so glad that you made me who I am. I'm so glad that you made me a royal priesthood. I'm so glad that you made me a mighty conqueror. And say to yourself some stuff that God has made you. Does that make all the problems go away? Absolutely not. But here's what it does do. It changes your perspective on the problems. And again, most of the time, it's not the problems themselves. It's our perspective on the issues that we have to deal with. A lot of times in our minds, because of what we say to ourselves, we make mountains out of molehills. We make problems bigger than they really are because we talk ourselves into a valley. We talk ourselves into desperation. We talk ourselves. Hey, how many of you have talked yourself into a depression? How many of you have talked yourself into a bad mood? Telling yourself how bad things are going to go and how bad things are right now. How many times in your life, as you look back over your life, have you made the situation way worse than it was just by the way you viewed the situation? Listen. You have to learn to speak life-giving words to yourself. And watch this. Here's the other side of that. If you can't speak life-giving words to yourself, you can't speak life-giving words to the people that you love. If you can't tell yourself positive stuff, if you can't tell yourself life-giving stuff, you can't tell the people that you love life-giving stuff. And you ought to learn to practice telling yourself life-giving stuff. Again, I want to make myself clear. I want to make sure that I'm clear because the Bible is clear. This doesn't mean all your problems are going to be solved just because you speak life-giving words to yourself. This don't mean it's going to make problems go away. But I want to be clear that a lot of times it's not the problem. It's not the situation. Listen, I'm willing to bet that for most of us who hate our job's not all that bad. I'm going to show you how it's not all that bad. The reason why I know it's not all that bad is because it could be a whole lot worse. You could not have a job. You could be unemployed. You could be trying to figure out how you're going to take care of the things that you got to take care of. And so, instead of saying, I hate going to this job, you ought to be saying, thank God I got a way to provide for my family. Thank God that he gave me a way to take care of my responsibilities. And so I just want to encourage you this morning, man, speak life-giving words to yourself. Speak life-giving words to the people that you come up to and then come into contact with. And then listen, slow down. And this is when it gets tested. You know when it gets tested? It gets tested in the heat of the moment. It's easy. It's easy to speak life-giving words when I'm getting along with the people around me. It's easy to speak life-giving words. It's easy to listen when things are going smooth. But when things get heated and conflict arises, that's when it becomes hard to listen. And so you got to make sure this week, I want you to practice two things. I want you to practice, number one, I want you to practice speaking life-giving words. In other words, to your kids, to yourself, to your family, to the people on your job. And then, Pastor, I don't know any life-giving words. Well, listen, you need to, man, the internet is amazing. Go on Google and Google life-giving words from the Bible. Google what God says about me, and you'll be amazed at what comes up. And then what I want you to do is write some stuff down. And every day I want you to practice from the Word of God, speaking life-giving words to yourself, and practice every day speaking life-giving words to the people that you love. And then the second thing I want you to do this week is in conflict. When the stuff hits the fan, when you go to that job and then people get on your nerves, when your husband, your wife get on your nerves, when your kids drive you insane, and Lord knows they have a special way of doing that. I want you to slow down, and I want you to practice, because you got to be intentional about it, because I'm telling you right now, some stuff going to come to mind that you could say. I want you to practice slowing down, thinking about what they said, thinking about what you said, and then thinking about how you should respond. You might seem a little thrown off at first because they're going to be looking at you like, why is he or she sitting there and not saying anything, looking crazy? And that's all right. Let them think you're crazy. They don't know what you're aiming for. And people oftentimes think you crazy when they don't know what you're aiming for. But when success happens and when things go like they're supposed to go, that's when they applaud you. I want you to practice slowing down, thinking about what they said, thinking about what you want to say, and then thinking about how you're going to respond and speak life-giving words this week. Hey, I'm going to be back Wednesday at 8 o'clock a.m. Listen, you got to practice this. Go Google, do whatever you got to do, find some life-giving words. I'll be back Wednesday at 8 o'clock a.m. Invite some friends to come along. Somebody you know needs this, and like this and share it. Because somebody in the world of Facebook needs to hear what you heard today. Don't forget, we at 1148 North Columbia Street, Wednesdays at 7 o'clock p.m., Sundays at 7:45 and 10:45, myfaithbible.org. We're also in Slidell. We got another campus. We're there at 57209 Allen Road, 9 o'clock a.m. on Sunday mornings and 7 o'clock on Tuesday nights. That's faithbibleslidell.com. I can't wait to see you in the building. I love you. Watch these life-giving words. You are going to have a wonderful week. Did you hear me? You are going to have an awesome week. You are going to have, despite the problems, despite whatever you got to face, despite the nasty, mean boss you're going to work to, you are going to have a phenomenal week. And I will see you on Sunday so you can tell me about it. God bless you all. I'm out.